Here's a startling figure for you. 1 in 5 Australians self-report as having some form of disability. Right now, there is an enormous focus on disability employment services. It's a complex issue with differing opinions on whether people with a disability should be encouraged into open employment with everybody else in the workforce, or whether their interests are best served by being in a specialised workforce. Phil Hayes-Brown is the CEO of Wallara Australia, an organisation that helps people with a disability find suitable work. He joins me now. Phil, thank you for your time. This is a pretty important issue for you. It's not only a job, it's personal. Your daughter, Phoebe, is autistic. Explain to me why you believe open employment, which is being pushed heavily right now, isn't always in the best interests of someone with a disability.
Hi, Rita. Thank you so much for inviting me in for this important conversation, because work is so important for all of us. You know, a job, as we all know, brings so much more to somebody than just a pay packet. A pay packet, of course, is important, but you have pride and dignity. You feel like you're making contribution. That's all part of mental health. So Australia actually doesn't do great on the OECD rankings for workforce participation for people with disability. So there's a real push to try to improve that around the country now. So it would be great to see work opened up so more people can be part of it.
Now, when we talk about open employment, so having someone with a disability in the general workforce, it can sometimes work beautifully, but sometimes it's not a viable option for employers.
That's right. So, in fact, thinking about work and inclusion and some of your earlier guests, I was talking to someone the other day that was saying they have disability on their list for inclusion, but the list is pretty long and they're trying to figure out gender, race, a whole lot of people that are looking to be included now. So I do have some sympathy for employers that it's a very busy space. The other thing that's happening around work, as I see it, is that on one hand you have the push for automation and robots and reducing workforce, and then you have on the other side of the ledger people who are interested in corporate social responsibility and trying to be more inclusive. So you've got competing forces really working in different directions. But Dylan Alcott is a great guy for Australian of the Year. I think that's fantastic to see him appointed like that. He's a great frontman for disability, and the issue is going to get a lot of attention this year. Rita, while I'm here, I also want to talk about, you mentioned open employment a few times. So I want to help the listeners understand maybe supported employment is another category of employment. And I'd love to see work options for as many people with disability as possible. For example, you mentioned it was personal to me. My daughter Phoebe is 20 years old. She's nonverbal. She has a moderate intellectual impairment, and she's wonderful. But how she will work, whether she can work, what types of work are going to be suitable for her is something that occupies me a lot. And I see people with physical disabilities. It's a lot easier for some people to enter the mainstream workforce, if you like, than others. And our supported employment provides a job to 20,000 people all around Australia. And I've been in this job for 10 years and I had no idea about this workforce. But I am part of that workforce myself. We employ 140 adults with intellectual disabilities out in Keysborough, and we're in supply chains that usually no one knows about. The line I use, Rita, is that if you walk down the aisle of Bunnings, Coles or Woolworths, there are thousands of products that are made, packaged or assembled or touched somehow by an adult with a disability, and nobody knows. So it would be great to change that and raise awareness about supported employment and open employment as well.
And just lastly, how can we help strike the right balance between removing the stigma around disability and providing fair opportunities for people who want to work?
Well, one thing I'm excited about, Rita, is that some of the companies now are increasingly talking about social procurement and what they're doing. There's a company we work for, Cow Australia. They produce these nose strip things that you might have seen in chemists all around the country. We've been working with them for about 10 years now, and now they're putting our logo on their packaging. They're telling the story at retail about how we are part of their supply chain. Another great story is St Kilda Football Club have produced a video about how people with disabilities are picking and packing and shipping all the merchandise that anyone buys all around the country. So they film that, they tell their members about it. So I am hoping.
You are doing great work. Sorry, we've
Rita.
run out of time, but this is such an important issue and we will discuss it again.